Hello everybody, and in this video we're going to be checking out the list actions function in the Babbage SDK. So we've got our MetaNet client here, which is a piece of software that runs on your device and lets you have all your bitcoins and stuff. And there's a function when you actually want to program this MetaNet client inside of an app. And here we're looking at the BTMS, which is the Basic Tokenization Management System. Let me know in the comments if you got a better name for it. But anyways, we've got an app here, and it's going to load all of my my tokens, and so I can show how this works briefly, and then I'll get into the list actions function, which is how you can actually get a list of all the transactions that people have made with particular labels on them and different things like that using the Babbage MetaNet client here. So the BTMS app, we can mint tokens basically, and then you have them here, and the tokens are on the blockchain. They're on an overlay network, and you can see all my tokens here. And on the right, you can see this list of all my requests going back and forth across the network to my MetaNet client, which runs on my own machine. So I can click this here, and I can get a page to load up here that has all of the transactions associated with this particular type of token. I can send it to other people, receive this token from somebody who might have sent it to me, and so the list actions function is important because it allows people to build this kind of list here of particular types of transactions relevant to particular things. So in order to list the transactions, of course, we have to create them. And so we can look at some code here in order to explore exactly how that happens. When we go into, for example, this library here where we are sending a token, there's a few things we need to do, but one of them is when you create a Bitcoin transaction, you can add a label to it. So, for example, when we issue a new token of a particular type, actually, let's go to send. It's simpler. So when you send a token, this code here sends a token. This is open source code. There will be a link in the description. We're taking the asset ID that we want to send the person who is receiving that asset, and then we've got the amount that we want to send them, and then some other options which aren't too important. When we come down to the very end, we're taking our tokens, we're unlocking them, and we're going to allow them to be consumed by the recipient. The transaction that ends up getting created here at the very end is being labeled. So we can see that there's a label, and it's labeled with the asset ID. So the list actions function is a function that's going to allow us to get all the transactions that have this kind of label on it so that we can build a list of them later. So let's look at where that's actually used. So every time we create a transaction, when we send or receive a token, it gets labeled here, and the list actions function actually comes down, and it's going to be inside of the get transactions method of right. So here we're saying given an asset ID and the number of transactions we want to get for that asset, we're going to call the actual list actions function here in the Babbage SDK. And what you do is you pass in a label. So you say, in this case, we're labeled our transactions with the particular asset ID, and you also pass in limit and offset and those other things, and then we can do some further parsing. The list actions function will return transactions in a format specified by the documentation, and we can then go through all of those transactions and we can parse things out. So like, where did the inputs come from? Where are the outputs going to? Because every Bitcoin transaction has inputs and outputs. And we can use that to create a useful data structure here. So in this case, we're mapping these transactions, we're parsing them out, and we're putting them into this useful structure here. And so that's kind of how it works. You get this this structure from list actions. You can then transform it however you want, and you pass in the label that you want for the transaction. So every transaction, when you create it, you can tell it an array of labels that you want, and then when you want to get them back with list, you just label it with a particular asset here. And so I can see 3 transactions for this asset, and then if I go back, I can look at another asset here, and this one is only going to have, I think, 2 transactions. So anyhow, that's a brief overview of the list actions function in the Babbage SDK and kind of how it can be used in a real world use case. If you'd like to learn more about the Babbage SDK or Bitcoin in general, be sure to keep in touch with us on the various platforms. So I hope this has been useful, and let me know if you think it was. And I'm looking forward to see what everyone keeps building with the Babbage suite of technologies. So thanks very much.